the Periscope network anyway, so it's not like anybody would want to watch us there. Okay, I'm gonna play the music.
Hit it.
Yo, hey everybody, I'm Chad Eckert, and that's Joe Idone. This is the Preferred Lines podcast, streaming on custom live streaming services. Possibly Twitch, possibly YouTube, possibly Periscope, probably not. But you can follow us on Twitter at Preferred Lines. Joe, hey, how are you? Long time no see.
What's up? Long time no see. You held it down last week in my absence, so good to see you. Pumped.
Yeah. It was a good week, but not the best week. So it's better to have you back in the fold. And then next week's the one we've been waiting for is next week. But we're here this week with the Houston Open, and we've got a guest, Justin Macmahan. J-Mac.
What's up?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I like you guys. I'm obviously more excited for the Masters than the Houston Open, but this isn't a bad field. It's not a bad field. It's worth giving it some attention. And hopefully everyone else is just focused on the Masters and we can catch them sleeping.
Exactly. So we have to catch them sleeping, though, because you've got something. Listen, okay, everybody. This guy, we have to bring him on because he's a real bettor. He bets real money, not $4.50. He's wagering thousands, and he's involved in online Twitter gambling battles and stuff like that with, like, real money. So, and he's in the Fantasy Golf World Championships, which is this weekend. Or explain that to us. Some of us don't play DraftKings that are listening to this, or other people don't play it. That's such a high stakes, or don't go for it like you're going for. Tell us about this little adventure you're on.
Yeah, so it started a couple weeks ago. This is the first time I've ever been in a live final with this type of format, where they kind of do, like, they'll kind of whittle the pool down. So 200 people qualify for it. And 2 weeks ago's event, it was top 100 out of 200 advanced to the next round. And then this past weekend, it was top 40 out of 100. So I made it. And now for the Masters, there's 40 entries in the Masters. And so they're skipping this week. They left this week open for ties, but I don't think there was a tie. So this week is skipped. And then for the Masters, it's like $500,000 to first, I think 200,000 to second, and then like 100,000 to third. And then I'm not sure what last place is. I'll look, I'm sure, about Friday afternoon. I'll start looking at what the bottom spots pay out. But for now, I'm just going to pretend I'm going to get 6 out of 6 through the cut and only focus on the top 5.
Well, what's great is that there's no reason for you to hold back. You don't have to, play games with your answers because your opponents aren't maybe watching this.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, whatever I'm going to do is probably going to end up changing.
Yeah.
So, it's
Monday night. That's what we're saying. It's funny. J-Mac, here's what we do here is we just, we crack a beer and we just chat. And this is what we're going to do. We go through a couple of questions, rapid fire with you, get your answers, and kick you off. We'll go through the betting board. That's how it kind of goes.
Sounds good. I'm up for it. Treat me however you want.
All right, cool.
We'll be cool. Joe. All right. So first question I have is, so there's a lot of us, sort of myself and Chad included, who sort of toe this line between, DFS and is it a hobby or is it a profession? Like you, I admire because you just sort of made that leap and were like, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to create this company and all this stuff. Like, talk to me about the process in doing that and when for you it went from a hobby to a career.
Yeah. So when I was a sophomore at UNC Chapel Hill, I hit my first 100K GPP. And I had already kind of started just tweeting out some advice on slates just for fun. Kind of came up with this concept of what I call the must-haves. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to give you guys a full lineup, but I'll just tell you who I think the 2 guys that you have to have in your lineup is, and then you can just do the rest yourself. So I kind of started doing that just for free. And then people asked me about other sports that I wasn't really paying as much attention to. So I asked some of my friends in college, I was like, hey, do you guys want to help me out, make picks for some of these other sports? so I can keep growing this following and see if there's anything to this. And after I hit that 100K prize, I really started accumulating followers, and the amount of people asking for advice, it just got to be too much. I would say all right, I'm around for the next 30 minutes before lock, ask me questions. And I'd get 250 questions. And there was just nothing. I could not possibly answer them all. And so I was like, this is nuts. So I just decided to make an actual website so that there was somewhere I could send people to, so they'd stop texting me and DMing me and tweeting at me. And I was
this is what happened to Joe. Joe won 100 grand and they just can't stop tweeting and texting Joe.
Nobody
right?
gives a shit. Nobody wants my advice.
Yeah, it's tough because that was 5 years ago, and it was just more of a novel concept. They had just started running the commercials for you can win a shipload of money, and the old DraftKings stuff with Bobby Gomes and his brother. So I felt back then was the sweet spot to get some media attention around winning. And that was back when FanDuel was the big site. FanDuel was way bigger, and now they're just a disaster.
We don't want to go into that.
Yeah,
what we want to talk about is your not disaster of a website, dailyfantasyinsider.com. You guys have a war room where you have special.
Yeah. So
war? What are you playing? War?
We go to war. We go to war against everyone on the DFS sites. But it's all in good fun. It's still a hobby. It's a business. It's a legitimate business, but we have 40 employees, but I still consider it a hobby because it's so fun. It's just you still have to view it as for fun. And there's stuff I'll do in DFS, like this week, I have a thing I like to do for golf for my MME that I scroll through and look at people's pictures and names. And if there's a funny tweet that I could come up with as a result of winning with that player, I'll just include them on my pool, no matter what. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom this week, Jabba the Hutt. The guy who's down there looks like he's Jabba the Hutt. So I'm going to play him because that's pretty funny. And then I'll have 1%. And so I still do stuff to keep it fun. Kevin Tway, he looks like Ike Barinholtz with a bad haircut. So I'll probably play him too. And just so if I win, I can be the only reason I picked him is because he looks like Ike Barinholtz with a bad haircut. So
you're just admitting it's roulette, but your guys in the war room, they're not going to freaking tell you to do that. They've got answers.
No. So the war room picks, for my main lineup, I'm basing it all off the war room. I'm just talking about firing a few in.
So what is it? It's a bunch of guys around computers, and they got glasses with those green visors, and they're just Justin, tonight's the guy. Oh gosh, Justin, here you go.
So actually, it's funny. So we have two PGA managers that are great. One guy is really into the model. He's got he knows this course 200 proximity iron shots is really important. So he's tweaking the model. He doesn't sound like a nerd. He sounds like a normal guy, but he's really into that. And then our other PGA manager is way more into he knows a few players. He's more into the feel. He's a cool guy. He played for football at UNC. He actually wrote the song Cruise by Florida Georgia Line. So he's a musician, songwriter, and he just likes to be a part of DFI for fun. So we've hung out with him before. He's great. And then we've got a couple other guys on our team that do a lot of in-depth Vegas odds analysis. And Vegas odds are super helpful for projecting ownership. They pretty much correlate exactly, especially in higher stakes. So I look at that a lot for higher stakes because you can Wesley Bryan was a good example. He was 56% owned this past week in the final for the DraftKings final because he had head-to-head matchups in Vegas against two guys that cost $1,000 more than him, and he was only plus 115 against those two guys. So you could kind of extrapolate that Vegas expects him to beat these two other guys. So he missed the cut.
Is that part of Justin? Is that part of I hear this term a lot, and I've been gambling on golf forever and checking the odds, but I'm relatively new to DFS, so I don't know. I hear this term of the optimizer and having the optimal lineup. What does that mean? Does that mean looking at things like you just talked about? What does it mean to have the optimal lineup before a contest starts?
Right. Yeah. So for a sport like MMA, tennis, golf, there is an optimal lineup that is kind of indisputably the optimal. And it's just based on whatever if you were to parlay your 6 players odds of winning together, like what's the worst payout you could get on like a parlay? Like if that's the kind of easiest way, because everyone understands parlay odds.
Yes.
So yeah, just like whatever your worst odds would be, that means that's the most likely 6 golfers to like make the cut or to win. So you kind of factor, and it's not for golf, it's not always so straightforward because like a guy like Wesley Bryan, his odds to win weren't really better than many of the guys around him, but it was his head-to-head opponents. So it's not as easy to just put all that into a model, and nor do I think that's any fun at all. So I don't play the optimal. But it's worth knowing who would probably be in it because that's where the ownership's going to go, especially the higher stakes you play. There's guys that I will just not play at all in high stakes, and then I'll have like a ton of them in low stakes because I just know that the ownership is it changes where the leverage ends up.
Well, if they have to have the right picture too, obviously.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if they're not smiling, like I'm not picking. It's gonna ruin my screenshot.
Yeah, exactly. Now let's go back to the World Golf Championship fantasy DK style thing, and it's concluding next week at the Masters, and therefore, then what? So how does this work? You've entered throughout the year into contests.
You see contests in the lobby that are like qualifier contests, right? And it's like the NFL qualifier or whatever. So if you win one of those tickets, if you come first in one of those contests, that's how you get into this. So this is going to be over no matter what. Everyone's going to get some payout level. I don't know exactly. Maybe I'll just pull it up real quick. But everyone will get some level of money for making it this far. And then, if you win, people think like, oh, it must be like a lottery where they pay it out over time. Like if you win like a Millie Maker on DK, it's in your account like instantly. Like you can just like pull it out right away. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like by Monday morning.
Joe. Joe's left it in there because
of
tax reasons.
But it was fun. So like seeing that immediately in your account for sure.
Yeah. Did you not? So Joe, when you hit the 100K, did you not find it tempting to just start firing at the Thunderdome when it was like, it's like 10 out of 13 with like 5 minutes till lock, and you're like, maybe it'll overlay a spot. Like, should I just opt in?
I did a little bit, but part of me is like, I understand that I still DK is something that's still like so new to me. Like I feel like I really know, and that I have an advantage on golf because I've done it for so long, and I feel like I see things that maybe other people don't. DK, It was just a total crapshoot and luck for me. So
it's because you're married and you have children. J Mac, Mr. Newlywed, you don't have kids yet. You wouldn't be firing off the Thunderdome if you just won 100,000. You'd be like, oh my gosh, this is like a washer and dryer, an air conditioner.
Yeah.
Oh, my baby's
it definitely. I can see it. I can see that changing quite a bit.
If I hit one more, then it's like not luck for me, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm good at this. But like, if I go into the Thunderdome, I got to take out guys like you and this freaking guy, Empire Maker, who owns the entire world apparently right now, and nobody can ever beat him. So why would I play him, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like I feel like I'm not quite ready for that level of competition yet.
No, that's fair. No, and that's very responsible of you because it can go quick. Like you hit 100 in your DK, and you fire 10 at a slate. And you're like, I'm only down to 90. It's not that bad. And then all of a sudden you're whittling it away and you're like, okay, wait a second. Like I got to reevaluate my process here. So yeah, I did that a little bit the first time I won and was lucky to win another one to kind of make up for how fast I was starting to churn. But yeah, I'm good to hear. I'm glad you did it well. And hopefully you get a second one so you start feeling confident in your abilities.
That's right.
All right, so we got to follow you on Twitter once you get that lineup made, and we can follow along with it next week.
Yeah, I'll definitely tweet it out next week. Right now, I'm finding it hard not to plan on building around Bryson. It just feels like he's gonna have like some of the best eagle opportunities that you could have that anyone's ever seen at this course. So I don't want to focus too much on the Masters because I know we have another event coming up sooner, but yeah, it's going to be hard to get off Bryson unless they price him at like 12,000 and make it just disgusting, which they might. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I have one more like kind of DFS strategy question. So everyone like in the pods and the shows that I listen to seems to be so hyper focused on ownership. Like I've never cared about it. It's like there's so many golfers. There's 150 guys in the field. The odds of someone having the same 6 as me, whether this guy is 20% or 18%, I'm not going to change my pick to pivot there. But I know so many of like the smart and the sharper people in DFS pay so much attention to it. But I feel like that's all that I hear. And it's like less about looking at the golfer. And it's more about taking someone that's 12% owned versus 20%. Like, what's your take on ownership?
Yeah, so I think it matters significantly more in higher stakes. I think if you're in like $20 or less contest entry fee for that specific contest, it's probably not that important. The value starts to be gained once you're getting guys that are like less than 5% owned, and even less than like 2%. That's where it still really helps in low stakes. But I agree that in a lower stakes contest, it makes no difference if your guy is 16% or 24%. It really doesn't matter. And you're just not going to see like Wesley Bryan last week. He's probably like 26% in low stakes compared to 56 and high. And yeah, I don't think the 26 matters. You definitely should not be fading the best picks because they're 26% owned in low stakes. It's especially because all the alternatives are still over 10%, because especially in lower stakes, it just really spreads out so that a guy I could pivot off Brian to in high stakes and get him at like 4%. If I'm now getting him at 10 in low stakes, it's not really worth doing it. So the biggest thing is like, earlier this year, I came in second and fourth in a Millie Maker. Or I came in second and sixth in one and then like fourth in another. And both times the lineups that finished top 10 had a guy that was like 0.4% owned. And that is like, that's where it starts to really matter. But even if you think about like the Millie Maker for the Masters is what, like 250,000 people, 250,000 lineups, something like that. So even a 1% owned guy is going to be in, trying not to embarrass myself here, 2,500 lineups. So like, you're not even getting that much. Like once you start getting down to like 0.4% owned, now it's 1,000 lineups. And even that is like, people think like, if I play a 0.4% owned guy and he wins, I'm going to ship the Millie for sure. But there's 1,000 other lineups that have that guy at 0.4% owned. So it's not like, that's why in low stakes, I just don't feel like it matters that much, because whether it's 10% or 20%, now you're talking like 40, 80,000 lineups that are the same, or they at least have that guy. So it just doesn't matter that much. I think you're kind of right on that, especially for lower stakes, and it's just not a big deal. The podcast hosts do everybody a disservice because they mostly play high stakes. So they're talking about what matters for them, and they're kind of leaving out the listener who is, it doesn't really matter. So
I wish there was a low stakes guy who had a podcast about ownership on DraftKings. Where can we find such a product?
Yeah, that's why I come on. I like you guys you're doing the Lord's work out here. I mean,
I know, and only 70 people watch it, so you're getting an advantage if you watch us, because it's not like the masses are following.
Yeah, I mean, you want to just
the Action Network.
I think golf is like one of the absolute most fun DFS sports, because you can pretty much justify like playing anybody. And there's no way to correlate your lineup incorrectly. There's no way to like, stack wrong. Or, I mean, the only way is if there's like really bad weather and you just ignore it. But that so rarely happens. And if it does,
then you can just say, I was contrarian. I was playing contrarian.
Exactly. With golf, it's like, you could just, especially when the bad weather is projected for like Friday and not Thursday, you can be like, maybe it'll blow over the next 24 hours or move a few hours, and then they'll
delay the tee times even. It's crazy.
Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes it's like Saturday afternoon looks really bad and the mornings are great. And then they just postpone Friday afternoon or whatever and put it to Saturday morning. And now it's nice dew on the ground, nice calm morning. So there's really nothing you can do wrong in PGA. So it's a fun sport, and there's stuff you can do right. Like I have a really solid ROI on PGA the last like 4 years. So I think there's a lot that you can do right, but it's also the easiest one for kind of casual players to get involved in, and they still have a shot. Look at the prime example, Joe won. So, I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Joe can do it.
Anybody can do it.
Now, the Houston Open, it's this week. Do you live in Texas, or did I make that up in my head?
I do. Yeah, I live in Austin.
Okay, so you're familiar with playing golf in Texas, or does it even matter? Are an Aussies a thing in wind in Texas? Is that a thing? Should we be caring about like certain narratives like that because you're from Texas?
I don't know. I think I'm officially giving up on where people are from narratives after Matthew Wolf completely sucked at Sherman Oaks after he's literally played there a million times. So I think that's kind of like the end of, like, I already was like always telling people, like, don't overvalue someone saying it's their favorite course because it's just not that relevant.
It's bullshit. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's just kind of bullshitty. And also, like, it may have done him a disservice because it's not like they're going to make the course a little harder than it is when he plays with his buddies out there every weekend. So he may be like, oh yeah, like this is one you can just blast it off the tee and you'll be fine. And then he gets there and he's like, oh wow, this rough got a little longer. Like, maybe it hurts him. Who knows? So I don't really give any value to that. I just play the best plays.
Hey, so speaking of value though, how about the word value? How do you find it in the betting board or in DraftKings? I mean, is it trends? Is it specific stats? Or what are you looking for to get the value?
Yeah, so I'm definitely more DraftKings focused than betting. We do some PGA betting, but for the sake of like what would probably be the best for your users, it's probably me to give DraftKings advice. For DraftKings value, I'm looking at for our model that we use, like in the War Room, we post the top 25 plays in our model. And so I'm usually taking my value from the guys who are jumping up really high. Like an example this week is like, so far our model has James Hahn as the second best play overall, regardless of price, which is really interesting. So like, I don't know, like if we're going to dig into that and say, okay, we should knock him down a bit. But we probably won't knock him down far enough that he's not worth it at like 8,000. And then like the deep guy, like the deep sleeper, like we have Grayson Murray like 20th in our model and he's like 6,200. So if I wanted to just like really punt, then I would look at that. So that's kind of, if you don't have any sort of model that you rely on, it can be kind of tricky because I feel like you can get stuck in the weeds a bit.
And, you can make up a reason for anybody.
Right. Yeah. So I like to kind of start with the model and then dig through subjectively on like those top 25 guys and see if I can't build a lineup I really like with those guys, then I start kind of exploring out of there. But you can get so stuck in the weeds in PGA, especially when there's like 140 guys in the field and you're like in that like 6.8 thousand range. Mm-hmm. And you're just like Twitter searching all their names. And like, there's some tout out there on every guy who's like, I took him at 125 to 1 and I'm really feeling good about it. And you just like talk yourself into everybody. So like I like to have a starting point of like the DFI PGA model.
Well, that's nice that you have that computer lab at DFI.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I'll go over to check Vegas stuff and see, who they've got guys matched up with. I like when my favorite picks are matched up against Matthew Fitzpatrick because Vegas will make anybody an underdog against Matthew Fitzpatrick. So it just like brings the odds down. Like really? they just think of him as like the steadiest guy. So it's like they just put him every time as like he's such a sure thing to be like in the top 60 to 70%. So if we put like the popular plays against him, I don't know exactly what's going on there, but I've just noticed that every time my guy is against Matthew Fitzpatrick, he's like plus 140. And I don't know why, because they're the same price. And then it does lower the ownership.
Well, you mentioned your model a little bit. Like, this is a weird week, right? Because there's no course history. We've never seen the course. So, like, right. What key stats are you looking at for a course this week that we've never seen?
Yeah. So when it's like this, you have to take a more generic approach to the model. Mm-hmm. So like we usually kind of do a lot of shot selection stuff. This week we're pretty limited. I think we're gonna weigh like the iron shots from 200 to plus. That's gonna be pretty heavy as far as shot selection. But then we're gonna cut out most of the other ones because it's like you said, like we just don't really know what's gonna translate to wins. So then you start just adding a lot of things like approach, birdies are better, ball striking. You just look for guys who are just gaining strokes on the field in the areas that pretty much always matter in golf, no matter what. And that's when you find like, we're doing like, we usually do like last 24 rounds. So you say like, wow, James Hahn is second in fairways gained in his last 24 rounds played on this whole field. And it's a pretty good field. So like, that's really interesting. And like of the like 15 stats that we're looking at, his absolute worst stat is he's 34th in bogeys or better gained. And he's 34 or better in everything else. So that almost says like, oh, maybe he's actually due for some positive regression. Because he must be putting like crap if he's like doing everything else so well and then he's just not making birdies, like he's running kind of bad. So so that I kind of look for stuff like that and just think like hopefully this applies to this course, you know.
Is that pretty standard for you? It was interesting you said, because that is usually the filter that I use when looking at stats. And I don't feel like that's a very common approach when I hear other people. I feel like a lot of people look more long-term, but for me, I've always done that because I'm like, it's basically, you know, the minimum, the last 6 tournaments, it's like the last 6 to 8. And especially things like ball striking and approach they come and go. Like any golfer knows, like it's hard to be really good at ball striking and have your irons dialed in for 2+ months. So is that your normal sort of default?
Yeah, I default to 24. Sometimes if I'm trying to look for something like wind, like really high wind, or I'm looking for something that's like just a really specific like aspect of a game, or like a lightning fast like Bermuda green, then I might just set it to like 36 or 48 just to try to catch, like just to increase the sample size because I know at this point I'm going back 3 or 4 years. So screw it. Let me go back 10. Like, let me just get everything here. Which really failed me because I was like, Henrik Stenson plays pretty well on the wind last week. And then he just withdrew after like 9 bogeys in a row. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have him in my main lineups, luckily. But I remember thinking like, oh, like this could be sharp. So I don't know. Yeah, I usually just go last 24 rounds. And even then I try to like read about like before I lock a guy in my main lineup, I usually just search his name on Twitter, scroll through some stuff and just see if there's like an article about how he recently changed his swing or if he's like new bag coach or something, like just to try to figure out like, am I walking into a death trap? Like, did he just switch clubs and now he's trying new iron shafts because he doesn't care about this stupid tournament down in Bermuda? Like, that's the kind of
you won't find any information though that's like accurate because the PGA reporting is not like NFL. It's terrible.
It's terrible. PGA needs to embrace the fact that we're here, we're ready to gamble on it. Like we like the product. Like they just don't like the Masters is going to be sick. Did you hear?
They get live coverage like this past weekend. It was so frustrating. It was infuriating.
I know. I don't get how hard is it to just put a stationary camera that faces the green for every like just position it right by the flag.
And an iPhone. Put an iPhone out there. Who cares? You need a real camera.
Yeah, and bonus points if they bank it off the tripod and it goes back onto the green. Exactly. Good for them. They deserve same advantage for everybody.
Like, can you imagine picking up on an NFL game like midway through the first quarter where they don't like you can't even stream the first like the leaders were 6-7 holes deep before we could even stream it. It's embarrassing, frankly.
It is. It really it blows my mind that so many people are ready to watch golf. And golf people complain like, oh well, young people aren't as into golf as other sports, and it's like because we want to gamble on it. Like you guys ruin it. Like just make it fun to watch. It's terrible. It's such a bad product right now, and the sport itself is fun to watch, but the way that they broadcast is horrible. Mm-hmm. The Masters is going to be great though. Did you hear what they're doing? Where you can like hand pick your guys to see all their shots. Oh, that's great.
It's always. I just downloaded the app today. Just already fired up about it. I saw it. My app thing, and I'm like, the best app in golf ever. I've got like get this on my phone now.
Yeah,
I love it. All right, J-Mac, thank you for coming on and talking to us. Before we get you out of here, we usually ask our guest who their preferred play is of the week. Obviously, yours is James Hahn, but we'll ask you, DraftKings guy, if you're going to go and build one roster, are you going stars and scrubs or are you going balanced?
I think this week I'm going pretty balanced. I've got like a lot of plays I really like in kind of the 8,000 range. So I think it's more of a balanced week, and then probably maybe next week go stars and scrubs, get a little Bryson action. So that's my thought.
I like that.
Awesome,
great.
man. Thank you so much.
No. Yeah. Before we remove you from here, tell us where to find you and how to give you money for their products.
Yeah, you know what? We'll give you our product for free for your first month. So if it's if you've never tried it before, just download the Daily Fantasy Insider app. And when you make your account, it'll shoot you an email with a code for a free month of all access, get all of our DFS picks. I think that I can definitively say our app is the best in the industry. I've asked a lot of people and they say, wow, okay, yeah, your UX is really good. So we were setting the bar high with tech and hopefully our picks hit as well. But
so Daily Fantasy Insider on
the App Store,
the App Store, Google Play, or not?
Android and iOS. Yeah. So
nice,
just download it and you'll get an email and get a free month of access. And if you don't want to buy anything, it's totally fine. Just use it for a month and leave us a review in the App Store, and that'll settle your debts to us.
Boom. Hey, congratulations on tying it up with the wife and doing all that. Good job.
Thank you.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, welcome to that.
Best of luck in the World Championship.
I'm a married man. I'm almost Joe. I'm like, I got to grow up the stash, and then
Yeah, you got to pound out 2 kids. First one has to be a boy though, and then the second one has to be a girl. That's how we do it here on Preferred Lines Podcast.
That's right.
All right. No.
Thanks, J-Mac. Peace out, dude.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
All right, everybody. We're powering through. That was Justin Macmahan. He works for He's basically the guy at dailyfantasyinsider.com. DFI.
He's that dude. What I like Justin, man. He's very much like high stakes, like has made a living on DFS. He's not like, I don't know. Some of these guys though, like, I don't know the right word for it, but they just they come off a little bit like arrogant assholes, and like he is not. Like the fact he would come on and like just talk to us as low stakes players and just throw us a couple advice things, he's very real dude, which is cool.
Oh yeah, no, he was. Hey, if you want more on that, you can go to the Fantasy Golf Pod on YouTube. Search Justin Macmahan. You can find an interview I did with him, and he talks about how he won $100,000 at the Playboy Mansion. He wasn't even 21. And he was drinking alcohol. It was great. He tells me about another story where he won a bunch of money. He's been on live on Periscope in the lead, and some dude hit a home run in the 9th inning, and it ruined him bigly. So this guy's a content creator. It's great.
He's got that pinned to the top of his Twitter account. It's just a great video. Like, reminds me of the thrill sort of when I kind of won on Periscope Live, and like this guy's won so much he like pins the tweet of him losing $250K when all he needs to do is this guy not to hit a home run. And
he goes, oh shit, all right, see you guys.
And he like takes it very much in stride, like, all right, later. I'll get it next week.
We're rounding the turn. We've made it almost past the midpoint or whatever, but that's okay. We got the Masters next week. This is the tune-up. This is the Houston Open. It's the pre-Masters. If you want some Masters information, I already did some content on that. You can find that on our page. What you want to know, I might try to pick somebody that's not got the foot out the door this week. Somebody that's not even in to the Masters, maybe. Have you thought about that? Are you looking at that at all?
100%. There are some private jets with an itinerary from Houston to Augusta, Georgia, already booked on Friday night. So it's whether or not these guys want to get on that plane or they make a couple birdies and they're like, I can wait another couple days. But there definitely are definitively some names at the top who you have to at least question their motivation.
Correct. Since this is also now a COVID spreader event.
Yeah, there's that. There's guys that, but frankly, the next couple of days is like a major sweat for these guys because any of them test positive and they're out. So they're taking a big risk in just being on site.
Except for Dustin Johnson.
He doesn't. He's probably immune. Apparently, it's out of his system now. We haven't really heard much about it except that he wasn't feeling great. Interesting that we heard sort of Finau as well say that like it hit him pretty hard. Like, I don't know if you saw the thing with him with Bob Herrig, and he's like, this thing kind of put me on my ass a little bit, which is interesting. You know, the first couple tests we saw with, I think it was Watney and Champ, guys totally asymptomatic. And now it seems like guys are feeling the effects of it. And maybe, you know, the quarantining obviously takes an effect on your golf game. And these guys are so used to practicing every day.
But then, Can DJ even get it again, or how does that work CDC wise? Do we know? Could he lick a bunch of doorknobs this week and he could still play, other than if he doesn't fall down the stairs?
There's so many mysteries about this thing still. I'm not going to pretend to know. I think he can get it again. I've heard there are instances where people getting it twice, but he should be. I think he's good, for a little while at least.
Okay, cool. Well, whatever.
We're not doctors.
No, we skip this crap and let's get right to the names. The tippity tip top. You've got Dustin Johnson. He's like 7 or 8 to 1. It's crazy. He hasn't played in a while, but when he did play, he was excellent. He was 6th at the U.S. Open, 1st the Tour Championship, 2nd the BMW, 1st the Northern Trust, 2nd the PGA, 12th miscut, 1st. So I mean, he's just 3 of his last 8 events he's won. He's crazy. He's good at golf, and he's tested positive for COVID, so he missed the CJ Cup and then was ruined again at the Zozo. So although he wanted to play, I mean, whatever. His manager is saying he understands the importance of not rushing things and he wanted to be smart about his recovery. So therefore he is not played until now. Do you want him though at the top of the board this week at the Houston Open?
Too many unknowns for me. Playing so good, and you factor in the unknowns, the potential motivation factor of whether he does want to get on that early jet to Augusta, a place where he has clearly had some success in the last couple of years, barring the stair incident. The other thing is too, obviously his practice routine has been, but we don't know, we haven't heard much from him. So I'd be interested in the interviews. DJ's got a young family too. Is this something that Paulina and the kids have as well? And then it becomes weird. You're a little bit worried about them, while you're trying to golf, while you're trying to get ready for Augusta, while you're trying to get your game in a good place. It's just too many things to even consider backing at. Right?
That number is ridiculous. I mean,
stupid.
Put an 8 put an 8 on anybody and I'm going to skip it. But Tyrrell Hatton at 14, Brooks at 18, Decky Finau also at 18. I've read that Brooks helped redesign it as the player consultant at this course they're playing this year. This is a new course for the Houston Open. Do we really want Brooks now? You're the Brooks guy, or do we wait? Does he pop it better? He does better in 2 or 3 weeks. He's admitted this.
He does. 100% he does. He likes to sort of round himself into form, but I think this is a little bit of a different circumstance. So I haven't bet Brooks, but I'm going to watch him very closely sort of as this week goes on. Would love to see the presser with him, try to maybe glean something but I'm considering it. The reason being is, so usually he will take a little bit of a break, right? He'll play 3 weeks in a row and he'll just sort of take a break and get away. I think he's been practicing a ton, which is a little bit different than when he normally steps back into his first event. He has had success playing in Texas the week before a major. He's done it twice. So in 2018, before he won the U.S. Open, the week before was the Charles Schwab, he finished 2nd. In 2019, the week before he won the PGA Championship at Bethpage, was the Byron Nelson, which was at Trinity Forest in Texas. So he finished 4th there. So he's had success sort of building into these majors in Texas before. You look back at the CJ Cup, right? He struggled a little bit that opening round. I think he took a triple bogey on a par 4, which really kind of cost him. But the next 3 days, his approach numbers were really solid. His irons seemed to be kind of dialed in. He's losing a ton of stroke putting recently. But maybe there's something to glean from, okay, so nobody's ever seen this course before. It's totally redesigned. Even guys who've played it 3 or 4 years ago, they've changed holes. They've turned par 5s into par 4s. They've turned a par 4 into a par 3. They've done everything different, totally redid the greens, which are extremely undulating from what I hear. Tom Doak did the redesign, and Brooks was a consultant on this job. Now, whether they just attached his name to it and he never even was on site could be the case, but he at least could have some familiarity, right? It's I help
why he's here
with this guy, like Tom Doak, give me the laydown on the 9th green, that you totally redid. They're close.
Sure.
So those are all.
No, he has the advantage of where to be on the fairway.
Considering Brooks this week, have not bet it yet. I'm gonna wait as the week goes on, but keep an eye on Wednesday. I may take him. What about you?
Of course, You're going to take it. Don't lie. Because it's the same number you can get at the Masters next week, which is ridiculous.
That part of it does kind of make some sense too. But then again, it's Brooks, right? He's the big game hunter. Everybody knows. So like he only cares about majors. So
well, guess what I'm doing? Not taking him here and taking him at the big game next week. Duh.
See, I have him at the big game next week with the Chiefs Super Bowl parlay. Me and Nagels got that from like December of last year. So yeah. I may take Brooks Koepka, but the other guys, hard pass on all of them. Hatton, Decky, Finau, anyone 20-1 and under. I'm out on the other guys.
Okay, we could go to the 20s where we've been living and dying, and I
Let's
almost
talk about it.
Cashed bigly last week on Redmond, but he was a little lackadaisical on Sunday. Hovland is not a lackadaisical Sunday player. He's at 22. You got Henley at 25 or so, and you could get Scheffler, Adam Scott in the 20s, but I picked Texas's own Russell Henley. Well, I don't know. He's probably not from here, but dude loves this shit, dude. Not this particular course, but he loves the Houston Open. He's performing well here. Last year he was bad though. So good. Glad we're not back at that course because whatever. But before last year, T8 win, T5, T4, T7, T45. So, but not only that, Henley's played well coming in. T4 at the Zozo. He's losing strokes putting there. I mean, like he's playing good everywhere else. Where has Bermuda, he's a putting machine. Why wouldn't you not go on Henley? This is like he's not in next week. He likes this grass. Someone that I like. So I'm going Henley at 22, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is.
The reason I didn't go Henley is because I think the guy that I saw right behind him at 25-1 is a much better player, and that's Vic Hovland. He has many of the same characteristics in terms of narratives, right? Not in the Masters. Ultra motivation this week because he's not going to be catching the early flight. Familiar with the area, crushes par fives, plays well sort of in this part of the country. And I just think he's a much better player than Russell Henley. Now, this is the Russell Henley Open, but it's not at the Russell Henley Open course. So I think that throws
no, but I'm going both. Duh, take both
in the narrative. Oh, okay. Well,
because, dude, we just forget February is this year. It was this year. He won in February. I mean, we know COVID has made everything seem like it was 10 years ago, but at the same time, he just won in February. He's seen his buddies go over to Augusta next week. He's pissed. He's angry.
It feels like – so I faded him in a couple matchups recently, and he's lost them. So I think the general perception of him is that he's not in great form. Because of maybe who he's in these matchup bets, maybe because of where he's priced on the odds board compared to where you see him. But he's not playing bad. I mean, I think the guy finished like 12th at the U.S. Open. You know, he took a couple weeks off. He made both cuts there. Like you said, he hasn't missed a cut since, what was it, March?
I mean, like,
so
forever.
He's playing great. It's a good opportunity for him this week, and I think the narratives all kind of align. And I just think that he is a must play at 25-1.
Yeah, I'm in on that. I'm in on Sung Jae anytime at 33-1 on Bermuda.
I knew you'd be in on Sung Jae.
Give me a break. Holy crap! So do that for sure. But do you want Sergio at 35?
No, I don't want Sergio.
Okay, then let's skip to the 40s where you can get Jason Day. He's kind of the same story as Adam Scott, as maybe Finau, maybe Brooks, maybe Decky, maybe these guys that are just 1 foot out.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like the Henrik Stenson of the week. Maybe he's there. He's pretending to care. He only wants to play Friday and Saturday. He wants to get on the flight, start the rehab, get the week going, be there on Monday early. I don't know. Who knows? So I don't know about Jason Day at 45-1. That just seems strange that he's here.
Right.
But then again, he was a golfer who wants to make dollars. And then Jason Day is on record of saying that, I think he said it to Sobel, our guy, that he can't gear up. He can't decide to spike at 1 week and play good at one time. And all of a sudden he's geared up to a week. Like, no. But at the same time, Jason Day can also be like, I'm going to take it easy. And on that hole on 15, I'm going to hit it over here. I'm going to miss my putt, and then I'm going to make sure I'm not playing on the weekend.
You know, I think they obviously are coming into the week trying to not let that thought creep into their head. But if they have a rough Thursday and Friday kind of feels like a grind and maybe some weather pops up on the weekend, like it's natural, right? To just be like, let me get out of here, right? There's other guys over at Augusta already preparing. It's the biggest event of the season for them. It was delayed. Everyone's been waiting on it. Let's go play the Masters where I know that I have a shot.
So then you go to the 50s. I think you skip Jason Day and you go to the guys like Lanto, Redmond, Harmon, Siwoo, Shaheen Lowry, 50. Zach Johnson at 50. My God. Zach Johnson is getting a 50. He's alive and well. I thought he was dead. I thought he was buried, gone. But he's
back
here now. 50. Would you ever bet at Zach Johnson at 50? Or are you taking anybody else in the 50s? Because I got one guy.
I did not take anyone here. So I've got my eyes on Doc for obvious reasons. I always like Doc. I think the 50 is a fair number. What does concern me, and one thing that kind of paused me from making the bet today, is these runs, right, where he's been close. And he's not followed that tournament up the next week very well in the past. After second at the Rocket Mortgage, he missed a cut the next week. Third at the Win to cut the next week. Third at the Safeway, 28th the next week. I don't know if he's one of those guys that maybe it affects him a little bit. Maybe he pours so much into that and was kind of naturally let down after Sunday. Now you got to get on a flight from Bermuda to Houston. He's striping it though, right? His ball striking is uncanny. Great player in the winds. Although I thought initially thinking Houston this time of year could be a little bit windy. The forecast does not indicate that 5 to 10 mile an hour winds, which is negligible. These guys are used to playing in that all the time. Cool. That said, fair number on Doc Redmond. Of all these guys, I like that the best. Just haven't pulled the trigger yet. What about you?
Brian Harmon is my trigger. I pulled.
Okay.
I got him at 55. You can find.
Give me a reason on Brian Harmon. I need to hear this.
He hasn't missed the cut since the Memorial. He loves to birdie. He's a great little grinder. Someone that on this small course, a Muni. Give me a break. I like him, especially since dude has been gaining off of the tee with the approach, with the putter, finding it all over himself. Guess what? Brian Harmon fits the narrative of what's happened this season. An older veteran who hasn't won in a few years.
Okay,
last win for Harmon. Last win for him was in 2017 at the Wells Fargo. Hello, he's ready. He's missed. Dude makes cuts. Okay, like I said, he's missed none since July. Makes about 75% over his last 100 events. Making the cut. So I don't know. Does it matter at 55 to 1 if he makes the cut? No, it doesn't fucking matter at all. But at the same time, I'm in a position where I like to dabble here, there, at the 50s, because then when it comes down to it on Sunday, that 50 is now 7 to 1. And then I've got him. And then I can hedge other places and try to get my money back or do something where I'm automatically profitable. So that's how I kind of work.
Okay.
Oh, Harmon, 55. And
what
also
about this guy at 60 to 1? There's this guy at 60 to 1 that really drew my eye this morning. Talk to me about him. Who is it?
Jordan Speed.
I know.
Talk about your.
We're gonna do it, aren't we?
Coming home to Texas.
Are we doing this?
Thank you. Yeah, are you kidding me? Why would we not? Now is the time.
I bet
There's no pressure. There's no Masters pressure. He doesn't need to prepare for the Masters. He's trying to find form and just fire into the Masters going off of a win. Let's do it. Let's get it now. And it's 60. My God, this is a great number for that. Don't you think? For fuck's sake, he's 50 next week.
I think it's a great number for that. Now, that said, he's playing, his form is such shit. But
why?
I feel like
not.
It's not, but it
not terrible.
He's underperformed for 3 years. He's shown
the
flashes.
most recent. Yes. Okay. Yeah, we know about how he was last year. We know about how he was in the Masters. He was the worst he's ever been. He was T21 at the Masters last year. Oh, God, he was terrible.
Is Greller back?
Oh, I don't know that, actually. Again.
Because I know he had his dad on the bag and like had some very funny comments. He was on the Subpar podcast that I listened to a little bit of. Like, I like Jordan a lot. He's very like open with his struggles, and like I'm to the point now where it was fun for a while to kind of poke fun at the Magic Beans and how he luck-sacked into all these victories and the childish Under Armour polos and outfits that they put him in. But now, like, I'm ready. Like, I want to see him get it back. It's so tough for him, right? Because he's never going to hit it as far as these guys. But I just want to see him get to the point where you stick a pitching wedge in his hand and it's going to 5 feet and he's walking in everything. And I think if that's going to happen for him and he's going to build some momentum, this could be a spot for it.
The win, I'm going to bet him to win, but at the same time, I might throw the top 5 on it because it's like, I don't know. He may have a little letdown at the end because he's trying to focus and save some energy for next week, which is a stupid reason.
Look at these fucking guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
These guys at 50-1. Lanto, Doc, Harmon, Si Woo, Zach Johnson, Corey Connors, and then you're going to stick Spieth below all those guys. It's like, that's a slap.
Well, you know what? You know who else it's insulting to? It's insulting to your guy, Denny McCarthy.
Well,
how dare he be priced the way he's priced?
It's stupid. I got an 80-1 on him this morning.
It's unbelievable.
The guy's
how do they put 81? He just finished 4th.
I have no idea. And he just ran up like a 63 on Sunday. Denny is that guy. His trajectory is flying up right now. Like, I've heard,
I agree.
Everyone's talking about it. Other PGA Tour players are talking about it. People are like, this guy is going to win and he's going to win very, very soon. And you're going to put him 80-1 in kind of a awkward field. Now the field is good, but it's awkward because it's the week before the match.
Correct. Exactly.
Tremendous form, dude. 3 of the last 7, he's top 10. Has the ability to go low. It seems like one round is sort of costing him where he's shooting like even par +1, and the other 3 rounds are lights out every week. He needs to string 4 rounds together, but you're going to put difficult, large surface area, super undulating. Like some of these, wait till you see some of these greens, like the 9th hole is insane. It looks like some ski slopes on there. Like you're going to put all these guys on unfamiliar Bermuda grass, lightning fast Texas greens. Like you want the guy with incredible touch and feel and just a natural talent given putter. And that's in the world. 80-1, I think, is a crazy number, and I love it. I love it too.
I think I'm going to take it. But I'm also looking at Gooch. I like Burns. I like Wyndham Clark again, and they've put him at 90. This is kind of sort of silly too. His odds dropped after he almost won last week. He lost in a playoff. He's back. Wyndham Clark's good. What about Griot at 80? Wasn't he one of the favorites last week?
Oh, you know what? Hold on. We did pass a guy that I bet. Right before Denny at 80-1. I took Cam Davis at 75-1. You don't like that?
Well, I've lost a lot of money trying to think he's going to win.
Dude, he's played pretty well, man.
I know that's a problem. Not well enough.
Have ranked really well. All right, he's been excellent at par 5 scoring, 13th in ball striking, 8th in short game. Like all facets of his game seem to be clicking right now. Approach, off the tee, short game, putting. Obviously, I believe there's 5 par 5s this week. There was a little bit like the Houston Open site said that the first hole is going to be a par 4. Yet I saw Josh Culp say it's going to be a par 5.
So did Mayo.
So I like that. Obviously, you mentioned this earlier with Justin. You have sort of the Aussies in Texas lazy narrative that there always is. But I just think it's a big number on him comparatively to some of the other guys in this range. I like it.
Oh, all right. Well, before we get out of here, do you have a long shot? Because I've got a few names that I can't believe that the names. I mean, I'm excited to do some DraftKings lineups with these flyers. They're better off in DraftKings, but you could get 100 triple digits on some names. Who do you have?
I have Sam Burns at 100-1. Bermuda Burns.
I found
these. I took 3 guys, and they're all, if you just closed your eyes and looked through the scorecards, kind of very similar, the same type of players. Bombers, Bermuda grass putters. Can get streaky hot. Burns, Ollie, 125-1. Had cashed in every contest last week with a.
How doesn't he wear a hat? I was wondering about that. Okay, so the amount of times in holes Ollie Snyder-Jans has had to squint because he can't freaking see. Dude, wear a hat.
Some guys are no hat guys, bro. I went on my golf trip, and there were probably a couple guys who will listen to this that were on the golf trip with me, but nobody fucking wears a hat. None of my boys, they all golf hatless, and I don't understand it.
God, I couldn't do
none of
that
them golf
for
with
every
hats or
round.
sunglasses. I got to play with both. Like I normally play with sunglasses and a hat. Anyways, Ollie,
but I wear mine
125
backwards, so I know I can vouch to it's easier to wear it forwards and have it cover the sun.
Of course.
Anyway,
and lastly in that mold is Killicky, 250 to 1.
He's bad at
looking
golf,
at it. I know, but
he's never gonna win again.
dude, Brian Gay just won. Don't give me Keith Mitchell's never gonna win again. All right.
Oh God, here's the names that I think are gonna win. Do you want to hear these? These are never gonna win.
Did you take Burns first? You had to have taken
Of course.
Burns. All right.
I saw 110. I got 110 on Burns.
Good.
Piercy, 125. He performed the last 2 weeks or 2 times out and
played well last week.
Norlander, nobody wants now, and he's 125, but he was kind of the darling last week. Bo Hostler is gonna win.
He's gonna win,
and he's back. He's doing good again. And we know Bo Hostler is a guy from Texas, went to Austin or whatever. What was in contention with Ian Poulter.
I had Poulter 100 to 1 that week.
Yeah, and Poulter was making bombs from all over the place, and it was breaking Hostler's heart. So it's Hostler's turn. Let's go. 125 there. McNeely, 140. I liked him last week, and he was like 50 or whatever. And then here's my bomb of the week. Andrew Putnam at 250? 250?
He's not playing. You're going to rip Keith Mitchell for not playing well. Putnam's not playing good.
What? Last week. Alive and well. T21. Fourth cut in a row.
Okay.
Always good with the putter. Bad with the driver, but do you need a driver on this Mooney? I don't think you do. So you can go 250. Well, don't maybe do that. Maybe just go like top 10 on Putnam, but whatever. 60s, 400 on DraftKings for Putnam. That's the guy that J-Mac needs to use. I hope his war room is telling people to use Putnam. He's this week's Brian Gay.
That's why we're amateurs. Putnam and Mitchell.
Yeah, this is bad.
No, but I liked Mitchell, and then I saw Josh Perry tweet him, and I'm like, in. If Josh even met, like, I would just want somebody else to just mention his name, and that's all it took for me because I looked at it too hard.
Okay, we've gone long. Let's just do our bets online on Twitter. Follow Joe at at Tour Picks.
Yep.
I am Edina Realty because I'm a realtor for Edina Realty. So follow me there. My initials are CHE. It's not that hard, bagels.
Do us a favor, guys. Give us a review, a like, a comment, fire on that merch shop. Throw us some love, right?
Yeah, we need that going into the Masters. We got to get the algorithms to hype us because we want to be seen. Because you know what? We do this for free. We do this for fun. We do this out of the goodness of our hearts. And we're excited for next week, aren't we?
We're excited for the Masters. So we've got a big guest lined up. I haven't even told you yet who the guest
Someone said yes to us?
Yeah, we got a good guest lined up. We may do an early show. We may do a couple other things content-wise for you guys this week. So keep an eye out on the feed. We are going to just keep working until somebody is like, we want to pay you guys. We're going to keep doing what we're doing now, being our own producers, our own IT guys, our own everything.
Hey, thanks again. Hope you enjoyed the program.
Peace, guys. Houston Open, wintertime. Cheers. Cheers.